And I'm recording. So
Okay. Okay. I just started recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome everybody to episode 23, which that is crazy to me that we're on episode 23
I
of
know.
C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm River.
And I'm Wren.
And this week we're going to do something kind of fun. Well, I think it's fun. We're going to talk about stories about witches, both fictional and real. And, you know, we've said before that both Wren and I like the history of things. So we decided that it would be fun to just tell stories today.
Yeah.
So, but before we get to that, what cocktail did we make this time?
We are drinking the Dance Naked. Explain.
And guess who came up with that name? I did. She came up with holy water. I came up with the Dance Naked. That, you know, holy water is more of a Wren thing, and dancing naked is for sure more of a River thing.
Yes.
But it is a cucumber lime drink. It's which we had cucumber in the holy water too, but this actually uses the cucumber lime svedka, which is a vodka that's specifically made that way. My mouth is watering. I've got one right here, and anyway. So, but it's got soda water and lime slices in it, and we may still tweak this episode. We may still tweak this drink. But I'm telling you, I am now hooked on this cucumber lime svedka stuff. I actually went to Dragon Con and discovered it at, you know, you can drink everywhere at Dragon Con. And the kiosk dude had this cucumber lime svedka. And I'm like, what is that? And so he made me a drink with that. And I'm like, okay, I have a new favorite alcohol. So we've been experimenting with it, and we like this combination. We may tweak it still a little bit, but by the time we were done trying it, I was ready to dance naked. So that's how the name came about. Okay. But anyway, are you all ready to hear some stories?
I am.
Okay. So my first story is about Mother Shipton. Now, her actual is Ursula Southiel. It's Sauthiel. I don't know how to pronounce that. But she was a feared and highly regarded English prophetess in the 16th century. She was born to a mother who was also suspected of being a witch. And she was apparently really disfigured. Her face was just disfigured. I don't know what it was at that time frame in the 16th century, what caused her to be disfigured, born that way. And they called her hideously ugly, and her nickname was Hag Face. Can you imagine?
Oh,
isn't that terrible? But everybody, they thought that she was so ugly because her father was the devil. So they thought that her mother and the devil had sex and made her. And I guess that's part of why she was kind of feared and respected, because who wants to mess with the devil's daughter?
Yeah.
But she was said to have been England's greatest clairvoyant.
Wow.
She's often compared to Nostradamus.
Oh, wow.
So she's like considered the female counterpart of Nostradamus. She predicted the Spanish Armada, the Great Plague of London, the Great Fire of London, the execution of Mary Queen of Scots, and some say the internet. She had a prophecy that said, all around the world, thoughts shall fly in the twinkle of an eye.
Oh, wow.
And people are like, she was talking about the internet, which, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a vision before or a prophetic feeling dream or anything like that. They are sometimes not super clear, but later you're like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah.
So I can see that she may have actually had a vision of what the internet, and back in 16th century, how do you describe the internet?
Yeah, I don't even imagine how she predicted it. Like, what were they, like you said, like visions where it's like she saw like a computer, which would be completely
foreign to her. Yeah.
But I guess that's like the idea of it, kind of, because like, I don't know. I guess
she just knew that in the future, people were going to be able to communicate instantly. How she saw that, like you said, I don't know, but fascinating. And what's really interesting about this woman being at the time frame that she's in, the 16th century, she was thought to be a witch. She was thought to be the daughter of the devil. She died a normal death. She didn't die by hanging or burning or any other reason for being a witch. She was not persecuted as a witch. People actually went to her for her, and she was compared to Nostradamus, which they didn't hang him either that I know of.
Yeah.
But so she actually died a normal death, but she was buried in unholy ground, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
At the outer edges of York. She died in 1561.
Wow. See, that's crazy because like people went to her and yet I feel like the witch trials weren't because they were witches. It was because they were women that they wanted out of the way or whatever.
Well, there were men also.
And men, but
people that they wanted out of the way.
That they wanted out of the way. But I could also see where it's like, especially now, I'm not going to talk about political things on here, but
I hear you.
But especially now, it's kind of like, oh, were you doing it because you actually thought she or he were a witch, or are you just trying to control the masses? Like,
I just wonder, she was called Hagface. First of all, I wonder if they ever called her that to her face. Probably not.
I hope not.
But I wonder if that's part of why she was never persecuted, was because she was so hideously ugly. It's not like some of these women did, like you said, they had power of some kind, control over men, and men were, usually they were a beautiful woman, and they wanted to get around that woman's power somehow, and so they accused them of being witches. Whereas this woman, she was hideously ugly. Bless her heart. I don't know. She lived a normal, powerful life where people actually, a witch that they didn't persecute. That's crazy. So what a neat story. I thought that was a good one to start with.
It reminds me of Wren.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, but there's also a character in that, like with Nostradamus, they also have Nostradamus in that series, right?
I didn't remember that.
Did they?
Was he
he
the advisor?
Yeah.
Ah.
So they had Nostradamus, and then they had a disfigured younger woman.
Oh, I remember that.
Like she was.
I wonder if I'll have to go look. I wonder if her name was Ursula Southiel, or what. I wonder if that was a play on her.
I don't think that the name was Ursula, because then I would have been like, oh, like I would have connected it. But it does remind me of that because she was disfigured and like hidden, and
people really didn't pay attention to her.
Yeah.
She was able to get away with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Kind of unseen because people didn't want to acknowledge her. So that's a power in and of itself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you have?
Okay. So I'm really excited. This is my favorite Disney movie.
Okay.
Growing up was The Little Mermaid.
Oh, another Ursula? Is it going to be Ursula?
Yes, another Ursula. And her backstory is absolutely confusing.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
It's tragic, like really tragic, but it's also very confusing because of what Disney did. Disney has movies, and they have multiple movies, and then they also have backstories and stuff that they didn't add into the original film.
Right.
So have that, and then they contradict themselves in the second film. I'll explain a little bit. And then they also have plays that are not the same.
Disney is the happily ever after fiction, whereas like the Grimm brothers fairy tales are sadistically
messed
violent stories. So I don't know that you can ever. Disney doesn't. They do have their tragic moments, like when Bambi dies. I can't ever watch Bambi again. That is one movie I can never watch again. I just can't watch that movie. And I don't like Dumbo either because they were so mean to the mother and they took it. That's a whole Disney films are a whole other issue. We're not talking about Disney. So let's hear about Ursula.
Okay. So Ursula, she's depicted as an evil sea witch. If you guys haven't seen or heard of The Little Mermaid, which you need to, you guys are living under a rock if you haven't.
It was actually a book. Didn't Hans Christian Andersen write the Little Mermaid?
I did not look at that.
Huh. I thought you might have seen it. I'm pretty sure he did. I think it was a book.
I thought that I actually got all my information from a couple YouTube videos because I thought that they did a really good job compared to like Wikipedia.
I can't do my research on YouTube videos because I end up on there for like 10 hours and don't do the stuff that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, you end up down a rabbit hole.
You really do. It's like TikTok. TikTok's the same way.
Yeah. So she is a sea witch in the form of half human, half, I don't know what she is. They didn't specify octopus or squid. But I'm going to go with octopus because it's like she has 8 tentacles.
Okay.
Octopus. All right. So what is confusing in many versions of this story is Ursula and King Triton are siblings.
Oh.
Which it's never made clear in the Disney movies.
Did we know that in the movies? Okay.
So part of the reason we didn't quite know that was because Disney had created a storyline like that, but took it out at the last minute. So Disney people didn't know that. It's not really known in the original story of Ursula, but it's kind of like a vague, like you're supposed to already know that.
Is there an actual story about her, or is it all in The Little Mermaid?
It's all in The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so and there's also a separate book about Ursula herself based on The Little Mermaid.
Based on the Disney adaptation?
I think so, because it's the Disney figure, like they use the Disney imagery of her on the front of it and everything. I didn't read.
I wonder if they're going to make a movie like they did with Maleficent, how Maleficent was this hideous, well, she wasn't hideous. Well, she had a hideous form, but anyway, and then we saw the new Disney Maleficent where she was just misunderstood. I wonder if they'll do that with Ursula.
Well, let's just hear her story.
Okay, let me hear her story.
So there are multiple backstories that I think I'll cover 2 of them. There's about 3 of them.
Okay.
So Ursula and King Triton are siblings, and they were each given equal shares of the sea when their father passed.
Okay.
So they were each given a magical item. So Triton was given the crown and Ursula the shell.
Okay.
And so they were supposed to rule together, but after Ursula used dark magic, King Triton banished her, said no, because no evil magic, I guess.
Right. Okay.
And so she used Ariel because Ariel didn't know her worth and how precious her voice was. And so Ariel was an easy target to get to Triton.
Okay.
And so backstory of Ursula. Ursula was the youngest of 7 sisters, and they were all beautiful except for her. So this kind of goes with yours just a little bit.
Yeah.
Her father found her disgusting. So he gave her a magic shell to ease his guilt. But she used this shell to get rid of her 6 sisters.
Oh!
Yes. Leaving her the rule after her father passed. She became the queen of the sea.
Okay.
But she also had a little brother, Triton, where when he came of age, he took over the kingdom, and that's why she wants revenge on him.
Okay.
So that's one of the tales.
Another story where the women got screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but she sounded kind of like malicious to begin with. Like she was already practicing.
Well, yeah, she killed her
magic.
6 sisters.
Yeah, I know.
little bit malicious there.
Yeah, and she was using her powers for ill intent. So,
yeah.
Another tale is she was found and adopted by a fisherman, not knowing her relation to King Triton or anything, right?
Okay.
Her powers got exposed to her village, and everyone turns on her, leading to a mass riot, which then led to her human father's death, which is awful. Yeah, because he was trying to save her. He was trying to protect her, and mob mentality, things happened, and her father got killed. So, grieving for her father, Ursula destroys the village, and that's where King Triton reveals himself to her, saying whoa, you can't harm the people on shore. We have a pact, they don't come to us, vice versa. So he takes her to the kingdom. the underwater kingdom.
Right.
And Triton didn't like Ursula's form because she's this ugly tentacle. Yeah, I know.
Judgy
right?
much, right?
Right. And wanted to banish her, but his wife wouldn't let him, which is, woo, go, girl power.
Go women, girl power. That's right.
But when his wife passed, he banished her for good. So, of course, she wanted revenge. So,
understandably,
most of her stories lead in revenge and her using her magic as something negative towards the environment and towards other people. And of course, we all know in the movie, the Disney movie, she has a human form, Vanessa. And so why did she choose Vanessa as this human form, right? So she's similar looking as her human form to Ariel. Maybe different hair color, but the facial features are still the same. The body still looks the same. And it's kind of revealed.
I mean, Ariel is her niece, right?
Yeah. So it's revealed that like Triton and Ursula are siblings. So of course they're going to look similar because Ariel is her niece and everything. So it makes sense. And it's also theorized that Vanessa is Ursula when she was good. So she used to have a mermaid tail instead of an octopus, 8 tentacles.
Kind of legs.
Until she used dark magic and it completely transformed her into something negative and ugly. So there's like a lot to go off of that. There's a lot more to it because there's also another story of where they think that she used to be this gorgeous, beautiful mermaid, and she was the youngest of 6 sisters. So she had no claim to the throne, nothing, wasn't anything important to her. So she used her magic to become human, which is her Vanessa form. And it said that there's links to this in the movie because she talks to Ariel about how men up there don't care about how you talk or how you, like, who you are. They only care about how beautiful you are, as like a trick to get Ariel to give her voice type.
Right.
And so it's theorized that she used to live on land with these humans. And that could also go back to like her being found by that fisherman. So there's like multiple stories that can like intertwine in each other. I
had no idea. I kind of like Ursula now. Yeah,
she's spicy for sure.
She is spicy.
Seeks revenge because her whole life she had been taken like advantage for and like everything was taken from her.
I was just going to say, does that make her calamari?
Yes, I would say that Ursula is calamari.
Because she's spicy. Okay, so these drinks that we're drinking, I'm not saying I'm close to being ready to dance naked, but they are very good. So was that the end of that? Or you got more on her?
Yes. Well, that's pretty much the end. There's a little bit more on like her relationship with her brother, even though like it wasn't very, like it wasn't a strong relationship. He thought she was like a hideous thing, in pretty much every single storyline, like he didn't like his sister. So it was kind of like, I don't know why, like just because because
he was an asshole. And
I mean, yeah, but just because somebody looks different or doesn't have like features that you want or you find appealing doesn't mean that other people aren't out there that don't find that appealing or
I know.
That they're not beautiful people anyways.
It's like these stories assume that witches are ugly and we're ugly because, we're evil. And there are a whole range of brothers and sisters out there that, are witches that are beautiful and maybe not so beautiful depending on what they do. We just need to accept everybody. I hate these stories about witches do seem to narrow down to women being controlled by men.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we have some male listeners too, and maybe they're sitting there nodding, agreeing with me, but interesting. Very, very interesting. And, in today's world, things aren't nearly as bad as they were. I have a story later to tell you all about that was pretty bad. But, I just, now they're afraid of us, not because we have men and women who have magic now, and they're afraid of all of us.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So I have another actual history, real story.
Okay.
This was Agnes Sampson, and she was a Scottish midwife and healer. And in early 1590, King James VI of Scotland married Anne of Denmark.
Okay.
And Anne was a very timid woman, very afraid of unnatural, quote, unnatural things. She was superstitious. She was fearful of dark magic. She thought it was all around. And so they were sailing back to Scotland after the wedding, and these horrible storms. There were two horrible storms, I guess, hurricanes probably, that they encountered on the way home. And the king became convinced that it must have been witches that caused these storms.
Obviously.
So he launched this campaign against, quote, witches. 70 people were accused of being witches between 1590 and 1592.
Wow.
And Agnes Sampson was one of them. She had been accused, like you've talked about this before, she had been accused by a neighbor because that neighbor was being tortured. And, we had talked about how when you're under torture, you're going to throw out whatever name you can.
Yeah, you're going to say whatever it is. Yeah.
So poor guy, I mean, he claimed that she was a witch, and poor her, because then she got sucked into it. But they said that she had attended a coven on All Hallows Eve that cast the spells to bring about these storms. And she denied it for as long as she could. But they bound her in a witch's bridle. And this is the thing I was going to tell you about in just a minute. This is a device that fits over a woman's head. It's like a helmet, but it's made from these strips of metal. So it's like a helmet, but I wish that I could describe it. Maybe we can post a picture on our website or something, but it has these jagged prongs that fit into your mouth, into your tongue. So your tongue is being cut by these jagged prongs that are being held onto your head with this helmet. And was then attached to the wall. So if she tried to move, it cut more deeply into her mouth. So after being unable to sleep, she couldn't even slump down to try to sleep because it would cut her mouth. She finally admitted to being a witch and was strangled and then burned to death. So she was one that was burned.
That's awful.
But did you know that in Scotland around that same time in the 1500s, they used those witches' bridles not just on witches, men used them on their wives. So if they felt like their wives were gossiping too much or talking too much, or, shut your mouth, woman, we don't want to hear you talk, they put them in these helmets. It's a real thing that they did.
Absolutely fucking disgusting.
It is terrible.
That is absolutely disgusting. Like,
I know.
I can't tell you how angry that makes me. Like, it makes me so frustrated.
So yeah, we still have issues, in modern times with women still not being equal and whatnot, and men trying to control our bodies, which is a whole nother political issue that we won't get into right now. But at least we don't have our husbands being able to put these bridles, the witches' bridles on. Now, I'm sure my husband wishes he could do that sometimes. No, I'm kidding. He would never want to hurt me, but sometimes I'm sure he would like me to shut up.
You just need some duct tape, not a witch's bridle. Shit.
Yeah, we've evolved from witches' bridles to duct tape.
Jesus.
What's your next story?
So I'm doing another fun one, Hansel and Gretel. So it's not really much about the witch because I could not find anything on her.
Are you kidding me?
It's basically just the story of Hansel and Gretel, and I have some stereotypes to talk about this story.
Definitely.
So Hansel and Gretel are a brother and sister abandoned in a forest where they fall into the hands of a witch who lives in a house made of gingerbread, cakes, and pastries.
Mm-hmm.
The cannibalistic witch, obviously a cannibalistic witch.
Of course, because witches always eat people, not just people, but children.
I know. And tends to fatten the children before eventually eating them. But Gretel outwits the witch. Wow. Try saying that like 5 times fast. And kills her. So the 2 children then escape and live their lives, and they return home with the witch's treasure. So basically the story was used to scare children and strangers from these witches. And honestly, I'm just hungry for children, aren't you? Like,
of course, because witches eat children.
I know,
course.
Obviously, witches like us, they love children, and we do need their fat.
I was going to say, we do need their baby fat to fly on our brooms.
I know, but it's one of those where she was depicted as this hideous old hag, and spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the word hag as one of my.
I'm excited.
I'm excited about that one. But obviously, like, this was just basically a story about a witch, like, to scare people of the times and to
keep them in line.
Yeah, pretty much. And just like watch out for those old ladies that live in gingerbread houses and and bake, I guess.
They might have ants. That's all I can figure.
I know.
A gingerbread house.
I know. And most of the stories along this time were like made where the witch is ugly and old and has that long, sharp nose. And so that's pretty much how the Hansel and Gretel witch was. And I was looking for a name. Please, somebody comment it. But she wasn't even given a name.
Because witches aren't important because we're just evil things that eat children that are hideous.
I might be wrong, but I looked at multiple sources to try to find if they had called her anything. And
was Hansel and Gretel originally written by the Brothers Grimm? That is a Brothers Grimm one. Yeah.
So, it was just short and brief, but it was mostly about stereotypes.
I mean, for real, that is the stereotypical, witches are fear. Even in modern, we've got, what's the Vampire Diaries? That's what you're just rewatching. And we've got Bonnie. There's still stereotypes, although she's gorgeous, obviously, but there are still stereotypes that carry forward from these fairy tales. People are still afraid of them. And I do like how some of the more modern stories like Vampire Diaries try to humanize witches as being, we're human. We're not all evil. We're not all out there to get baby fat to fly on our brooms. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I have another real one. Murga Bein. It's a German name. So Bien, Bein, I think. And this one is quite unfortunate. Okay. She was a rich German heiress in the 17th century, obviously in Germany. And this was between 1602 to 1605. And this Prince Abbot Balthazar von Dernbach, which isn't Balthazar the name of a demon? Isn't Balthazar a demon?
Maybe, but
or Balthazar.
It could also be pronounced differently because it is German.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, this Prince Abbot dude ordered a massive witch hunt. He came into power and was had very power hungry to prove himself as, it's a new era. I'm going to prove who I am, make my own name. And so, of course, the way that he wanted to do that was he ordered this massive witch hunt to purge all, quote, liberal, ungodly, end quote, activities.
Ugh.
So more than 200 people were accused and executed for being witches. Yeah. Now, poor Murga, she had been married twice before, which was part of the problem. She was on her third husband. And the guy she's currently married to, she had been married to for 14 years. So it had been a while. Yeah. And she hadn't been able to get pregnant with this husband. And all of a sudden she was She conceived. She
Mm-hmm.
became pregnant after 14 years of marriage. Well, everybody in the town was like, well, obviously she slept with the devil to conceive this
Oh
child.
my God.
That's the first thing that pops into my brain when someone's get pregnant. Oh, she must have slept with the devil. What the
Oh
hell?
my gosh. Not like, yay, congratulations.
Yeah.
Like,
And she had actually had children before. So it had to have been her husband who had issues conceiving, because in her first 2 marriages, she had children. But no, of course, it's because she slept with the devil that she was able to conceive. Now, actually, she might have had an affair. Who knows?
That's what I was thinking. Had an affair, and then somebody didn't want that, like the village or whatever they were in, to find out. So they just accused her of witchcraft and therefore died. I don't know. Like,
I know. So they tortured her too, of course.
Oh.
And during the torture, they forced her to admit that she had killed her second husband and children. I could not find what had killed them. Was it a fire? Which that's what I kind of assume. It must have been a fire or something, because it killed the husband and all the children. Or maybe she killed them. I don't know. But they forced her to admit that she killed them and that she had attended a Black Sabbath. Now, I want to attend a Black concert. Does that count? I mean, okay. But anyway, she was burned at the stake in the fall of 1603, all because she got pregnant, whether she had an affair or whether her husband finally was able to, put out some sperm that did its thing.
Wow.
Isn't that terrible?
That is.
So what's your next story? I know that was a very upsetting story to me.
Yeah. And mine is is real. Of real events, and her name is Anna Goldie. I've heard of her. Yes,
I think maybe. Tell me the story.
She was an 18th century Swiss woman who was the last person to be executed in Europe for witchcraft.
I think that is why I knew about her. She was the last person. That's all I know, though. That's all I know.
Goldie was decapitated.
Oh.
And has been called the last witch in Switzerland. So, and there's a lot of it. She's a native of Sinwald, and she arrived in I can't pronounce this. It's
all of these names, like the German one I had issues
I know.
with.
Galaris in 1765 when she was 31. Goldie was impregnated by a mercenary who left Switzerland before Goldie gave birth. And Goldie's baby died the night it was born, which is very common in that age.
Yes. Yeah, it was. That's so sad.
And so after the death of her baby, she began working as a maid for the, again, a name that I cannot pronounce, but
of course.
Tushdi family in 1780. So one of the people of the house, Jacob, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name again, reported her for putting needles in the bread and milk of one of his daughters to, like, I guess, injure her, or apparently through supernatural means.
So this is what he accused her of, or did he see it? Or
he reported her for having put needles in the bread and milk.
That means he had sex with her and was afraid that she was going to tell someone. And so he had to discredit her.
Perhaps. So Goldie at first escaped the arrest, but the authorities of the canton of Galaris area offered a reward for her capture. And that was on February 9th of 1782. Goldie was arrested and put under torture and admitted to entering a pact with the devil, of course.
Of course.
Who had appeared to her as a black dog, which is very interesting because black dogs run like
those are Grimm's. Harry Potter had a black dog. Yeah, the black dog is a very common supernatural figure.
Yeah. And so she said all of this under torture, but she withdrew her confession after the torture ended, but was still sentenced to execution by decapitation. So the charges were officially of poisoning rather than witchcraft, even though the law at the time did not impose the death penalty for non-lethal poisoning.
So she poisoned somebody. Oh, the kid supposedly with the, wow. And then they killed her anyway.
So
even though the kids didn't die.
Yeah, the kids did not die. It was basically just needles in bread and milk. And so it wasn't poison because like it's non-lethal because the kids didn't die. Like the children didn't.
There may not have even been any pins and needles. It was just something that guy said because he screwed her and didn't want anybody to know.
I have no idea. I feel like there's some history in these that are like probably somebody turned around and was like, wow, I don't like you anymore, and was just straight up, oh, you're a witch, die, you know.
River jumps to the sexual conclusions for sure. They had an affair.
And maybe he just didn't like her, or she had a malevolent type of attitude one day and he was just like, that's it. Instead of firing her, he was like, you're a witch, or I accuse you of trying to poison my children.
Or maybe she did put needles and maybe she was so distraught over losing her baby she went crazy.
Maybe. We don't know. See that. Yeah. So during her trial, official allegations of witchcraft were avoided and the court protocols were destroyed. The sentence does therefore not strictly qualify as a witch trial, and still because of the apparent witch hunt that led to the sentence, the execution sparked outrage throughout Switzerland and the Holy Roman Empire. So the sentence was described at the time by historian Augustus Ludwig von Schoesser, this is another one of those, as a judicial murder. I think I agree with that. The murder of an innocent, and this is a quote, the murder of an innocent deliberately and with all the pomp of holy justice. Yeah. End quote. Yeah. Yeah. So that is the story of Anna Góða.
I think another characteristic in all these stories is what was it you called it? The mob?
Yeah, it's like mob mentality.
Mob mentality. I think that's a very common thread in these things too. You set it off and then everybody's like, oh, I'm so scared. And it's like they feed off each other.
Yeah. And I think that it's the energies that one person, like, I don't know, you can feel somebody's energy. So if somebody is like
magic.
Yeah. So if somebody's like passionate about something you're also passionate about, like, let's not say I'm passionate about hanging witches, but let's say two people had the same
mob mentality.
That mob mentality, like their energy
is a form of magic.
Yeah. They all go together.
They've all tapped into each other.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd never thought of that before.
Yeah.
So my next one is the Blair Witch Project. So this story has a little bit of legend. A lot of it's myth. A lot of it's, I think most everybody knows the Blair Witch because of the movie, but she's based on an actual person. So there's legend and truth involved in this. Her name was Moll Dyer, and she was of Leonardtown, Maryland in the late 1600s. I'm so glad we don't live in the 1600s.
I know.
A group of her fellow townspeople accused her of witchcraft, and she was chased out of her home by a group of men on a winter night, and her body was found days later, of course, frozen to death to a large stone. And so these stories came about her malevolent spirit haunting the land around her wooded cabin and terrorizing anyone who came near as revenge against those who wronged her. So that's just a little blurb. You can go watch the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Which it's a scary movie, but that was the first of its kind that came out. I think we've talked about this before, the camera point of view stories.
Yeah. I love those types of movies. The Blair Witch Project wasn't as scary, and I'm probably mentally messed up, so it wasn't as scary to me.
It was scary to me. It actually scared me.
It didn't scare me at all. I thought it was I was just like, what is this hoopla?
I don't know why it scared me. I don't know why, but that one, it actually did scare me. But it was, another mob mentality. Mob chased this girl out in the middle of the freezing cold winter. Yeah. And she froze to death.
Yeah.
And so, of course, anything bad that happens after that, it's her ghost.
Yeah.
She was a witch. She cursed us.
Yeah. It's how it always happens, apparently.
Yeah.
It's there. We got a common theme running in all these stories.
There really is a common theme in all the witch stories.
And like what's the word? Not fantasy, but like real and fake stories, like
fiction. Yeah.
Fiction. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So what's your next one?
Well, I have the definition or the history of the word hag.
Oh, I want to hear. Yeah.
So a hag is a like old woman, basically, or kind of fairy or goddess having appearance of such a woman, often found in folklore and children's tales such as Hansel and Gretel.
So is it always ugly or is it?
Well, it was at first, and I don't have the dates because the source I got this from didn't have dates.
Okay.
But it used to be a fairy or goddess having an appearance of a woman. It didn't say beautiful woman.
See?
But it's just a woman. And this is often found in tales of Hansel and Gretel. And I guess in Hansel and Gretel, she is depicted as like a hideous woman, but an older woman. And so hags are often seen as malevolent, but many also, it's said that they choose these forms, which like,
think about Snow White, where that queen was actually quite beautiful. She was cold, but quite beautiful. And she chose to appear as a hag, quote, hag, to Snow White to give her the apple. The long nose, like with the wart on it, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But her normal form was a beautiful human woman.
Yeah. So a hag, or the old hag, was a nightmare spirit in English and Anglophone North American folklore.
Yes. Like the sleep issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me.
Well, that's all I have.
Oh, but I have more.
Okay.
So sleep paralysis, when you wake up and, you've heard, and there's actually lots of horror movies about sleep paralysis. The term something about nightmare that made me think of it. When you said the mare, there are all these stories about hags that would come sit on your chest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And suck the life out of you or give you nightmares. But yeah, those are all referred to as hags as well. See,
that didn't have that in my source. It just had this one like sentence, and I was like, oh, that's really cool because it connects to North American folklore.
I'm your source.
Yes.
I'm the source.
Why even go to Google? Why go to Google when I have River? River's my Google.
I drink and I know things.
Yeah.
Was that all you had on hags?
I have just a little bit more. So the term appears in Middle English and is the shortening of, and again, I can't say it right, hagates. And so it's H and then the AE that are connected. I don't know what that's called.
Yeah.
GTESSE. And that is an Old English term for witch.
Really?
And in fairy or folktale, the hag shares characteristics with the crone, and the two words are sometimes used as if they were interchangeable. So also in medieval and later literature, the term hag and its relatives, like other words for hag, in European languages came to stand for unattractive older woman.
Yeah, but it didn't start that way. So that's very interesting. It was like a goddess before.
Yeah.
So call me a hag and I'll be like, oh, yes, I'm a goddess. River's a goddess.
Yeah. But when I'm driving and I have road rage, I might yell out, you hag. And that is not what I mean.
You goddess.
Yeah.
Lord. Okay. You ready for my next one?
Yes.
I should have let you do this one because this is one of your favorites. It is Marie Laveau.
Oh, from American Horror Story.
Coven, American Horror Stories, but not what she's from. They just did the story. She's a real lady.
That's where I know her from.
Yes, she I don't know if I said her whole name, Marie Laveau.
Mm-hmm.
She is a voodoo priestess, or was a voodoo priestess.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually born as a free Black woman and lived in New Orleans from 1794 to 1881.
Wow.
There's little known about her life, but it is widely recorded that she had a massive following, commanded respect as she walked through New Orleans. Everybody knew who she was,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of revered her. People came to her for cures and advice, and she was actually a devout Catholic. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
there is speculation that her magic mixed Catholic. She attended Mass regularly, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
and African spiritual traditions. That's what her magic was a mix of those things, which I think we in today's world can relate to that, because we all pull our magical traditions from a mix of things.
Yeah. And I also feel like if you do have a religion, like let's say you're Catholic, you can
Mhm.
still be a witch.
I agree.
I feel like
There
a lot
are
of people,
Christian witches.
there are a lot of people that I feel like have difficulty with that, you know?
Well, I mean, Wicca is a religion, and
Yeah.
I am not Wiccan, but I'm a witch. But you can be a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever is for you, and it's not odd that you have a Catholic who's also a witch. Like I feel like you can have anything in this world.
And be a witch.
And be a witch, yeah.
So she mixed apparently her Catholic traditions with her African spiritual traditions.
Mm-hmm.
They said that her divinations were supported by a network that she assembled while working as a hairdresser and a brothel madam.
Oh.
And that she owned a snake named Zombie.
Oh.
Which is the name Zombi, not Zombie,
mm-hmm.
which is African god.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating woman, and I know that you find her very fascinating.
I love her history.
There's a urban fantasy story that I read, and I can't remember. Cat and Bones is the series, but I don't remember who wrote it. But Madame Laveau, makes an appearance in that series as well. They go to her for information.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating woman. And after she died, her gravesite was rampant with vandalism, because people believed that if you went to her gravestone and drew an X on it,
mm-hmm.
that she would her spirit would grant your wishes.
Oh.
So nowadays you're not allowed to go unless you're on a tour, because there was
mm-hmm.
so much vandalism.
Wow.
And her grave gets more visits than Elvis Presley's grave. Isn't that fascinating?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably do a whole episode on her. She is a fascinating woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she has popped up in pop culture, current urban fantasy type stories. And what a great fictional character she makes, as well as the real character that she was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. What's next for you?
Well, I do only have one more story.
Okay.
But I really want to hear Baba Yaga from you.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a few more stories. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So I
kept finding more.
Yeah, so. I want you to go ahead and go into Baba Yaga. And then I'll go, and then you can do your other ones.
So Baba Yaga right now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, and it might be pronounced Baba Yaga. I call her Baba Yaga. It's spelled B-A-B-A, Baba,
mm-hmm.
Yaga, Y-A-G-A, Yaga. Yeah. So to me, that's what it is. I'm so sorry if I am mispronouncing it.
Mm-hmm.
But in Russian folk tales, Baba Yaga is an old witch who can either be fearsome and scary or a hero.
Uh-huh.
And so she's both. I mean, this is the first story heard of witches that is good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
She's like neutral. Like if you play Dungeons and Dragons, she's like true neutral.
Well, I was thinking along the lines, and I am a nerd, and I will kind of call myself out right now, of World of Warcraft. I play World of Warcraft.
Uh-huh.
And I think of, so right now we have a huge like a new update and everything. And it's been a huge storyline of Sylvanas, and she's not really a witch, she's a banshee. And her tragic storyline, but she wants to do good. She's caught between doing good and bad. She finds herself doing bad more, but she feels bad when she does bad because she's hurting people and everything. And she's
doing it for a reason.
She's doing it for herself. So she's kind of selfish. She has a reason, but it's not selfish because she's trying to do it for everybody.
Yeah, it's not for the good of the people.
Yeah, but it will help everybody. So she's she gives me that kind of vibe.
The Baba Yaga vibe. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Now, she's described as having teeth of iron.
Wow.
And a frightfully long nose. There's that stereotype.
Yeah,
again.
that long nose.
And she lives in a hut that can move around on chicken legs. So there's a hut that has chicken legs and it walks around the forest on these chicken legs. So it's constantly moving. So it's hard to find her.
That's so cool. Wait. Have you seen, I'm going off track. It's an anime. What is it called? Howl's Moving Castle.
I have heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Oh, it's my favorite. Growing up, it was my favorite movie, like anime movie of all time. And I recently just acquired it again and just watched it.
Really?
But his whole castle was on these thin little legs and it moved around. And that's what
I bet it was based off of Baba Yaga. I bet it was. That's so cool. She does not, unlike many traditional folk tale witches, fly on a broom. She flies in a giant mortar, the mortar and pestle that, where you crush your herb, bowl.
Yeah.
And then you've got the stick that you crush the herbs in.
Yeah.
So she rides around in a giant mortar and pushes herself along with this pestle, almost rowing it kind of like a boat.
Oh my gosh.
And, she sweeps the tracks away from behind her with a broom made of silver birch. So there is still a broom involved, but that's not how she rides. She doesn't have to have that baby fat ointment.
I mean, that's pretty good for the babies.
Sit in her bowl. Yes.
But did I tell you, I actually got one of those? I got a mortar and pestle.
I was afraid you had gotten a broom and some baby fat.
Baby fat. No. That was
so have you gone flying without me?
No. Very misinterpreted. But if I did, I would be wearing pants. So
So you got a mortar and pestle?
Yeah, I bought one and it's very generic. I bought it from Home Goods.
Etsy? No. You got
Home Goods / TJ Maxx. I'm American. You can tell I'm American because I get all my stuff from there, but it's really cute. And I thought I never shared that I got one finally.
No, that's so neat.
Yeah.
Have you used any to crush up herbs for spells or anything yet?
I've used it for mojitos.
That's even better than spells. Okay, I forgive you.
Because, we grow our own mint and my husband's favorite drink is a mojito, and so I crushed some mint, and
I just know that your husband and my husband drink heavily whenever you and I are together.
So I haven't used for witchy purposes, but I've used it for mojitos.
Well, how cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Is it like marble or?
It's wood. I love it.
It's wood.
It's wood, and I love it. And you can't keep moist things in it for very long because it is wood.
It's wood, yeah.
But I love it. So it's more.
You'll have to take a picture and post it on our website. You'll have to do a blog about it.
Yeah, I will.
We haven't been doing very, very well at doing our blog posts.
We haven't been doing very well online
I don't think we've done
general.
Sorry.
It's been a rough week. Yes.
This year, honestly, they say 2020 was bad. This year is worse for me than 2020.
Honestly, I can say that too, because I have been in and out of the hospital, I think like 7 times now in 6 months.
What?
Because at the beginning of the year, I broke my arm thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a break, but like
I was
my
thinking
muscle.
COVID or something.
No, my muscle. And then right after I got put into like my nice sling and I was about to get out of it, I sprained my ankle real bad.
Yeah.
And I fell on my face like maybe a couple weeks ago and like broke my glasses and
had black eyes, y'all. She
Mhm.
looked beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And then now I'm having this weird intestinal problem that like I
Yeah.
can't eat dairy anymore. This year, health-wise, has been awful.
Mhm.
But
It's been busy wise for me.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't very busy because COVID, we couldn't go anywhere. So
Yeah.
it was very calm, and I was actually able to continue working online.
Mhm.
So it didn't affect me like it did a lot of people. It was okay. Last year was very calm and cool.
It
This
actually
year
was.
has been like go, 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 go.
Yeah,
No,
it
you can't
has.
take a day to rest. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I mean, and part of it's my fault, like Dragon Con. I'm not going to pass up that. And
Yeah, you had a lot of fun. You were texting me
it was
through
very
it.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I sent her pictures, and
Yeah.
it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. I bought a lot of stuff. Our bill just came in from the credit card. My husband's like, "What the hell, woman?" And I'm like, I wanted it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, I got a crystal ball.
Oh yeah. It's
I will post
beautiful.
a picture of that.
It is
absolutely
beautiful.
beautiful.
Mhm.
It is. I can't wait to try to scry with it. I haven't ever done that with a crystal ball before. So I'm very, very curious. So I will post a picture of that. It's gorgeous. But anyway, that was Dragon Con. But even though it was fun, it was still go, 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 go. I haven't had a minute to just breathe.
Yeah, sit and relax.
I'm trying to do my moon journaling to try to center myself. And I'm just, this year is something.
Yeah, I feel you.
So Baba Yaga, in general, whenever you seek her out, you never quite know if she's going to hinder you or help you.
Yeah.
Generally they're just desserts with her. It's not so much that she wants to help the good. She's more about wanting to see the evil punished.
And that's where that's where I get the connection from the game that I play, because she doesn't really care about helping the good, but she doesn't want evil.
And there is a whole fairy tale that goes behind this, where a mother sends her daughter to go and get light from Baba Yaga for their home. And the girl has to defeat the horses that Baba Yaga has. There's a red horse. There's nightmare. There's a whole fairy tale behind Baba Yaga, but I didn't feel like that was showcasing the witch side. It was more showcasing, oh, humans beat witches all the time, blah, blah, blah. Like Hansel and Gretel. Oh, they beat the witch.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm kind of fascinated by Baba Yaga because she's kind of a hero through all this too. Plus, she's got a house that walks on chicken legs.
I know.
I mean, right?
So cool.
Did you have one more? You had one more.
I have one more.
I've got two more.
Okay.
Yeah, two more.
Okay. So I have the Evil Queen and Snow White.
Oh, we've talked about her.
So it's just more basically like general information, because again, no sources. I couldn't find much on her. She's just the evil queen.
Yeah, they throw out this token evil and don't describe. That's why I love the Disney movie Maleficent from Maleficent's point of view.
Yeah.
Because we're finally getting to see the quote evil witch's point of view.
Yeah, her side.
Yeah.
So the Evil Queen, also known as Wicked Queen, is a fictional character in Snow White from a German fairy tale of the Brothers Grimm. So the Evil Queen is a vindictive stepmother who's obsessed with being the most beautiful in the land, or, the most fairest, like the fairest of the land.
The fairest of them all.
So Snow White makes her jealous. So the Evil Queen makes a plan to kill Snow White using witchcraft. So we seem to have a theme of evil witches in Disney,
Right.
So this is where the mother or evil queen talks to her magic mirror. And in the traditional story, the evil queen grotesquely executes her crimes, where Snow White is murdered, and like the evil queen does like become triumphant. But in the Disney one, Snow White lives, the evil queen is destroyed, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
which I thought that was really cool. And the magic mirror has like a history of its own.
Would love to hear it. I love mirrors. Mirrors are magical.
It's weird. Okay. So the story was actually influenced by real happenings with this magic mirror, where a mirror was given as a gift from husband to wife in 1725. And it was very vague as to who these people were. And this mirror seemed to talk to the wife. Right. And in the upper corner of the mirror, it would talk, and it would say clear references to self-love and don't go crazy when like you like self-image, but you're beautiful. And to the point where this woman was so obsessed with herself that she would kill anybody that was more beautiful than her.
Oh my God.
So it's based off this real mirror that a husband had gifted to his wife in 1725.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And I just think that's so cool. But if you think about it, what was telling her that, because mirrors are like portals.
They are portals. So there was a demon telling her.
There was something, yeah.
Something feeding her this. Oh my God.
Isn't that
I wonder
cool?
what happened to that mirror.
I have no idea. That's all that I found.
Someone has it.
And I found this. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm freaking out. I bet someone has this mirror.
Yeah. I found this on it was like a kind of sketchy website. I think it's linked. No, it's not. It's not linked. I have to find it again. But I was like, is this real? So I tried to search it up even more. I couldn't find anything else, but that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
So who knows if it's true or not, but I thought that it was very fun that I should add it, because the magic mirror itself, it wasn't the evil witch.
She wasn't. Mirror. Maybe she wasn't even a witch before the mirror got hold of her.
Maybe. And even poisoning like an apple, you just inject this shit into an apple and you call it witchcraft, But in the movies, she's like this whole thing with when she dipped the apple into this, her potion, So isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one, and I feel like we might have talked about. For some reason this is in my brain recently. I don't know if I've seen a movie or if we've talked about it. You and I talk about all kinds of things, so it's possible we had an entire conversation about this. But my next one is The Bell Witch. Mm-hmm. And it is the story that takes place during the 1800s in Tennessee. So it's in the United States. Mm-hmm. A lot of witch stories take place in Europe or in other countries, but this one is in the United States. Mm-hmm. So according to Pat Fitzhugh of the Bell Witch website, so they've got their own website, there was sinister entity that tormented a pioneer family on Tennessee's early frontier between 1817 and 1821.
Wait, do you know where in Tennessee?
I don't think it ever said. I would have to look it up.
Okay, because my husband and I earlier this year went to Chattanooga and visited, and we went on a ghost tour. And so if maybe this is something that
maybe you heard
talked about. Yeah, maybe. It sounds familiar. So
I think you and I have talked about it before. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
So he explains that this settler Bell and his family located to Tennessee from North Carolina in the early 1800s. And they purchased this large homestead, which was the way of things back then. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't long before weird stuff began happening, including sightings of strange animals, like with the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit out in their cornfields. Oh. Right? Weird.
Oh, I have one word. Skinwalker.
Oh, it could be a skinwalker. Yes. Oh, we'll have to do an episode.
Yes. Next episode, we're doing an episode on skinwalkers, because recently there's been a lot of sightings on these creepy things. I want to talk about it.
And we're in this Halloween. Yeah, I know it's only September, but to me, Halloween started, several months ago.
I already bought my one thing this year for my Halloween decorations, so don't tell me it's too early. So
it wasn't long before, they started having issues with their daughter. So Betsy Bell, which is John Bell's daughter, started to experience physical encounters with some kind of specter. She claimed that it slapped her and pulled her hair, which is like a poltergeist or some kind of entity. So a party led by none other than General Andrew Jackson, along with a, quote, witch tamer. Don't quite know what a witch tamer is, but the witch tamer, who was armed with a pistol and a silver bullet, they came to investigate because apparently this had become well known as to what was going on in this setting. So the entity that was there was like, I'm having none of this, and particularly wasn't very impressed with the silver bullet as well as the witch tamer because it forcibly ejected the witch tamer from the house. I mean, blew it out the door. This guy went flying out the door, and there's apparently witnesses. I mean, Andrew Jackson talked about this. Wow. And of course, this terrified his men, Jackson's men, and they're like, we got to leave. And this Troy Taylor of Prairie Ghosts, I guess, .com, I don't know, says that the spirit identified itself as the witch of Kate Batts, who was a neighbor of the Bells and with whom John had experienced bad business dealings over some purchased slaves. Ooh. So Kate, as the local people started calling the spirit, made daily appearances in the Bell home, wreaking havoc on everyone there.
Wow.
And then once John Bell died, Kate stuck around and haunted Betsy all for the rest of her life.
Oh, why didn't Betsy just leave?
I don't know. Or maybe it followed her. A lot of times ghosts do connect, to a person as opposed to a place.
Yeah. Oh.
And then you don't have another one, right?
Nope.
Okay. So my last one is La Befana. And did you know, the legend of Santa Claus is based on a witch?
I could see it.
I mean, you think Santa Claus, okay, Saint Claus must be Catholic or something. No, it's based on a frickin' witch. Okay. Yes.
Tell me.
So in Italy, the legend of La Befana is popularly told around the time of the Epiphany, which is 12 days after the. So I think January 6th, is the Epiphany.
Okay.
So according to folklore, on the night before the Feast of Epiphany in early January, Befana flies on her broom delivering gifts. Much like Santa Claus, she leaves candy, fruit, and small gifts in the stockings of children who are well behaved throughout the year. On the other hand, if a child is naughty, he or she can expect to have a lump of coal. Oh. Is that not the story of Santa Claus? Right?
It is, yeah.
So La Befana's broom is more than just practical transportation. She will also tidy up the house and sweep the floors before she departs to her next house, which makes sense because when you go down the chimney, which La Befana does, you bring the soot with you. So it's only polite to clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
And she may wrap up her visit by indulging in a glass of wine or a food left out by the parents.
Aww.
I mean, the cookies and milk, that's Santa Claus story.
Yeah, it is.
So some scholars believe that the story of La Befana actually has pre-Christian origins.
Okay.
The tradition of leaving or exchanging gifts may relate to an early Roman custom that took place in midwinter around the time of Saturnalia. And today, Italians, including those who follow the practice of Stregaria, celebrate a festival in honor of La Befana's honor.
Oh, that's so cool.
In honor of her to celebrate.
Yeah. That's so cool. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Santa Claus was a witch. That may be the title of this one.
Santa Claus. Witchy Santa Claus.
Anyway, that's all I've got. But y'all, there are so many great stories out there. And we'll post our links and you can go and look at the links, but go and do some fun research. That's these stories are amazing, especially the real witches that were persecuted. And some of them may not have even been witches or known that they were witches. Yeah. They just were different, which is awful.
Yeah. Get it? Which is awful.
Which is awful. WITCH.
Which.
Apostrophe S.
Yeah.
Awful. Okay.
Which.
Which.
Okay. You guys, we'll be back, but you guys can find us on social media, all social media platforms at C3 Witchy Podcast. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. You can also find us at www.c3witchypodcast.com. That's where you'll find our links to literally everything. Patreon, merch.
Subscribe to us and we'll send you a monthly newsletter.
And is that it?
Yeah. Please. Wow. Please. Okay. I'm almost ready to dance naked now. Please come support us. Go visit our Patreon. Like she said, if you come to our website, when it first pops up, there's a Patreon button. Please click it. Come support us. It can be $1 a month. Anything you do can help us. Our husbands love us, but we do spend a lot of time, money, and effort on this. And it would be great to have your support to show that you love us and make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
We will be back.
Yeah, we'll be back.